Let me ask you a question. How did you get into anime? Was it through another anime like Dragonball Z, Naruto, Pokemon, or Sailor Moon? Well, for me, it was something a little bit different. A lesser known cartoon from the 80s called Jace and the Wheeled Warriors. Now you might be wondering, Ashmanix, you degenerate weeb, how in the hell do you go from a Western produced rock themed Saturday night cartoon from the 80s to Japanese anime? Well, let me explain. Let me take you back to my childhood. When I was little, I used to get up really early in the morning, and me and my brother would sneak down to the living room to watch TV. I remember when I'd switch it on, we were accosted by the beautiful black and white colours of teletext. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with what teletext is, it was a public text information service that would show various information like the news or weather. It looked like something from the 70s, and you'd see it on TV during the night outside of broadcast hours. There would be a gap in time between teletext stopping and broadcasting starting, and in that time we'd be accosted with this. The BBC Screen Test Card. At the time I didn't think about it too much, but the more I think about it, the more it weirds me out. But after all the trials and tribulations of avoiding annoyed parents, waiting through boring teletext, and being slightly weirded out by the BBC Test Card Girl's doll, salvation came in the sound of a banging 80s guitar riff. And it was awesome. Jace and the Wheeled Warriors was a cartoon produced by Deke Audiovisual.
Deke,
a studio based in France, and animated by Japanese animation studios including Sunrise and Shaft. See? Anime Link. Due to animation being in Japan, it had a slight 80s anime feel to it, which would explain my association with it and anime. In the UK, the series was first screened on the ITV channel in 1985, but I ended up watching it quite a few years after that on an early time slot on another channel. The series was about our protagonist Jace, who was on a journey to try and find his father Audric. Jace's father was a botanist specialising in biotechnology, who accidentally created sawboss while trying to create a plant that would end hunger. During the experiment, a nearby star exploded into a supernova, the radiation of which altered the plant, and 4 others, into what was to become the Monster Minds, a race of plant monsters who wanted to take over the universe. Now our man Audric, being a smart scientist and all, created a root that could destroy the monster minds, but apparently had to leg it before he could use it on them. He split it in half for reasons, and gave half to his squire Owen, the other half of which he kept himself. He then sends Owen to serve Jace, and disappears with the other half of the root. This results in Jace worrying that his dad's gone out to get the milk and never come back, and thus begins Jace's journey to go and find his missing father on a giant space sailboat. Man, I love the 80s. He was accompanied by a motley crew that formed the Lightning League. Jillian, a space wizard, enough said. Flora, a plant being created by his father who was able to gain human form thanks to Jillian and Audric. For some reason I thought he was Jace's sister, but I was wrong. Owen, an eternal squire who served Audric and now serves Jace. And Herc, Storm Sailor. Man, this guy was a Han Solo ripoff. On the other side was the Monster Minds, formed of Sawboss, the leader of the monster mines, suffering an eternal bad hair day, and some other dudes that I never bothered to care much about. Each side would fight using vehicles, and this was the coolest part of the whole series to me. Seems kinda impractical to use a vehicle with a grappling arm to fight an enemy, but I thought it was the shit at the time. Now you might have some questions here like, why did Audric run away with half the route and not just use it straight away? Or why give half of it to his son, which he knew would probably endanger him as the monster mines would come after him? The simple answer is 80s cartoons. If you ever looked too close to any of these stories, they would start to unravel, and as a kid I never thought much about it. Or anything really. Space sailboats, space wizards, combat vehicles, and evil plant bad guys with vehicles that had giant saws on the end of them. What was not to like? Putting on my rose-tinted nostalgia glasses, and not bothering to rewatch the series more recently to better understand the plot, I loved that 80s and 90s anime's aesthetic that they had going on for the series. They tried to put out all the stops: space pirates, knights, wizards, and semi-transformer style vehicles with mutated plants thrown into the mix. It was a hodgepodge of ideas and was probably too much of a mix to really last long. And it didn't. Having said that, Wikipedia said it had 65 episodes. Did it have that many? I don't remember. It feels like I only watched a few. Sadly, the show's overall story was never resolved, with a movie having been commissioned to end the story proper, but never realised because the toy line failed, and back in that time, all these cartoons were glorified sales ads for selling toys. For me, this series is legendary. This was a time when I had very little access to cartoons beyond what was broadcast on terrestrial TV channels at the time, and there were only 4 of them. I wasn't lucky enough to have Sky or even cable, and had to make do with whatever I could get access to. So I realised I might have a skewed opinion of the series, and to be honest, I hardly remember what happened in it beyond the main story points, as it has been decades since I last watched it. I loved all the vehicles that featured in the series, and the way the good guys would launch into battle from the ramp of their space sailboat struck a chord in me. It was like they were riding into battle in their trusty vehicular steeds, and some of the vehicles could even run self-autonomously. Tesla, eat your heart out. The combination of a slightly more serious storyline than contemporary cartoons at the time, a slightly less episodic nature, with aim to find Jace's father being an important point throughout the series, and that 80s soundtrack, man! I think the intro music alone had me hooked. I'm a sucker for cheesy 80s rock music, and even Jace was styled like an 80s rock star. Though it might not have been that popular overall, and it faded away into obscurity pretty quickly after finishing early, Jace and the Wheeled Warriors had a long-lasting effect on me as a kid growing up. It was one of the earliest programs I remember watching, and that general art style and story structure was something I unconsciously yearned for in other cartoons at the time. Now, I did enjoy other more normal kid shows of the time, and there was one other cartoon at the time with similar vibes to Jace. I enjoyed Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles and Thunderbirds, and I was there for the start of Pokemon in the UK, but I continued to yearn for some Jace-styled animation with a more serious storyline, something that wasn't as episodic and had a more hard-hitting story. It was only years after that I came across something that would blow my teenage mind. But that's a story for another day. So that was Jace and the Wheeled Warriors, my gateway drug into anime. So what do you guys think of the video? This is the first time I've kind of tried to do a video essay like this on the channel, so it's probably not going to be great. Have any of you guys heard of Jace and the Wheeled Warriors? Are you guys, some of you too young to know what it is? And are you interested in watching something totally random like it? Leave your comments below. Did you like, dislike? Tell me what you think. Or give me some comments about cartoons you think about that remind you of your childhood. That'd be cool. Anyway, I'm Ash Mannix, and I'll see you next time. Bye.